My daughter's name is Carla Luisa Abeta, and Carla's turned 30 now, more or less, and she lives near Anchorage. When I moved to LA, she moved to Alaska. But the story, I think one of the stories is when she was in her last year of high school, and my sister Jennifer was living with us, and she comes and she was dating and she was on birth control, and we had talked about that very openly, which was good. And she comes to me, she said, well, Mom, you know, I want my boyfriend to spend the night. And she had never asked me that. And as much of a feminist and as much of a socialist I was, I said, you know, honey, I just can't do that. I just, you know, I'm almost there. Sorry. I'm almost there, but I know you're graduating. Can you just wait till you graduate and you're on your own? I don't want to hear about it. I just couldn't quite get there. And she, you know, we laugh about it now. You know, it wasn't quite funny at the moment, but we laugh about it now. And but I think what it was, she was very honest with me. She could approach me where I could never approach my mother on those kinds of issues. You know, she asked me, and I think that is really something. And when she was little, she was on the picket line with me. When Ricardo and I were protesting against Nixon, I have a picture of her in a stroller with a Nixon picture behind her with Nixon has horns on it, you know. And she was on the picket line with me, and she's holding a picket sign. You know, I mean, every struggle I went to, she was with me. So I think in that sense she learned a lot. I think at first she might have thought that I didn't pay enough attention to her, but now that especially when she was in her teens, when it was teens are hell for parents and kids. I mean, it's just, they're trying to get their independence, and you're just trying to still give them enough independence, but still know where the hell they are, and when they'll be home, and what they're doing, and who they're doing it with. I mean, you know, it's just, you know, it's a transition of time for everybody. It's very hard, and the teen years were really hard. But she had wanted more money than I could afford for a lot more things. You know, I would always give her the same rap all our parents have given us. I pay the rent, I pay the bills. You have a certain amount for allowances for clothes. Other than that, that's it. I can't do any more. I can't pay for games, sweaters, rings, photos, the rest of it. Can't do it. And she says, well, I want to get a job. I said, fine, get a job. I think you should get a job. And she was only 14, but she's tall. Her father's 6'3", and she's like 5'7", which I'm glad I got married to a tall, good-looking Chicano, because she is beautiful and she's tall. So, okay. So she comes to me and says, you know, we agreed she was going to start to work when she was 14, and we would forge her birth certificate like all parents did. And we're going to put 16 on it. She comes to me and she says, Mom, think of it. If I start to work, I'm going to work the rest of my life. Don't you think I should have this summer off? And I go, gosh, you're right. Okay, one more summer. You know? So here, one more summer. So at 15, she started to work. She earned her own money. She kept her own money. She started as a waitress at a restaurant in West Seattle. And it really, no, she started at Safeway. And then when they went on strike, she'd never crossed the picket line, because I'd always told her, the worst thing you could ever do in your life is to cross the picket line. You never want to be a scab. I have ingrained this in her since day one, because she's been on with me with picket lines. You know, you don't cross them. I don't care what is going on. You don't cross them. You don't cross airline picket lines, you don't cross farm worker picket lines, you don't cross grocery worker picket lines, you don't cross Boeing worker picket lines, you don't cross picket lines. So, okay. So she calls and says, Mom, there's a picket line, what should I do? And I said, what do you think? She says, okay, I'll come home. I said, fine. So she comes home and she says, well, I got to work. And I said, well, find a temporary job somewhere else. So she did. She went somewhere else to work. I mean, she's in high school, you know. She can find a job anywhere. So, so she got another job. And now that she's in Alaska, her profession is a waitress. She works in a really fancy resort, and she earns her own money. and then she runs a boutique in Anchorage, and she's involved with environmental issues in Alaska. And she reads our Freedom Socialist, our newspaper. She reads what I write. She's a very strong feminist, very self-confident young woman, and she doesn't take crap from men. You know, and I think that's the best I could do. She's not a radical feminist. She doesn't hate men. I didn't want her to hate men. That wasn't where I was coming from. But she does feel that she has a right to be respected. She has the right to feel equal with them. And when they don't treat her that way, adios. And I think that's, and she's got a real good working class foundation. Whether she'll ever be a socialist or not, that's another question. But I think she has those ideas planted, and I think it's good, because with young people, all you can do is plant ideas, and they go through their mind, and some of it goes out, and some of it stays, and you just never know what's going to happen. But she's a beautiful young woman, and I've never had any problems with her, and I'm so thankful for that. Thanks be to Marx that I've never had any problems with her.